the record now. Like I had Chloe Kayat remix training season, and I met her on a night out. And Adam Port is incredible as well. He's part of like Kleiner Music, and I got introduced to him at this club night.
Well, when I say it's all making sense to me right now is because, again, reading about you is the story of you, which is well publicized, is very interesting to me. That your folks moved from Kosovo to London to flee the war. You're born in the UK. When you're 11, you move back to Kosovo, which is not easy to go back to the place, sort of the place where you're like the place you have an idea of from your parents. You know what I mean? And then there's these shows after Kosovo gains independence. They have these shows like 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg played there. That's right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I guess you're around other people and dancing, and there's probably something beautiful happening there.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, 50 Cent. I'll never forget that he came and played in the stadium, and people in Kosovo listen to a lot of hip hop music. So when I lived there was like this heavy influx of just hip hop. Yeah. So it was a lot of like Biggie and Tupac and 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg and Method Man and Redman.
Yeah.
And that was my first show. They were actually the first to come to Kosovo, and that was like my first show I ever went to when I was 15.
And are you going, I want to be up there, I want to do that?
All my dreams about music and performing involved being on stage. So but I think it was just like, it's just a dream, you know? I would see people on stage, but it was just like trying to figure out how you get to that point. And I just knew that London was that place for me. Like I needed to be in a place where everything was happening. I needed to be in a place that I felt like, that was just bigger than Kosovo.
Yeah.
It just, at the time, like now I was having a conversation about how much there's so many artists that you can discover from all around the world. And it's so easy to tap into different cultures and different places. And you just didn't have that. You know, you couldn't really be in Kosovo when I was 15 and put music out and hope that, someone might find you. And you just had to be in London. And I was just, I guess, fortunate that I was born in London because my parents had moved there.
How old were you when you said to them, like, I'm going to go back and become a pop star?
I was 14 when I started planting the seed. I was 15 when I moved back to London. But it was also along the lines of, I need to go back and finish my GCSEs and maybe go to uni, but also want to do music. And so, yeah. I've
heard you ask them since, why did you let me go?
Yes.
What was their answer?
I'm a hard person to say no to.
I thought it was going to be, we believed in you, Dua. We believed in your art.
No, but they did.
I want to get you out of the house.
They just, no, they were just so supportive, and they just put a lot of trust in me. And I think their trust was also something that I didn't want to misuse. And the fact that they let me do that, I tried to be a good kid. You know.
When did you know it was going to work out? Your eyes widened.
It's just such. It was. I think for them, so scary when I was like, all right, I'm going to take, because I finished my compulsory school and then I was like, I'm going to take a year off, and I'm just going to focus on music, and, I don't know what it's like to be a parent, but I think. And now having conversations with them, it's so daunting when your kid just wants to be like, I'm going to focus on music. I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to work different jobs, and I'm going to try and do this. I think for them, they were like, okay, you sure you don't want to go to uni? You sure you don't want to like do that and that at the same time? And I was so headstrong on the fact that I'm like, I'm going to take 1 year and I'm just going to focus on trying to get my music out there in some way. And I guess even when I got signed, I didn't know if it was going to happen. All I knew, it was like I quit my job in a restaurant that I was working in Soho. And that was enough to like go on, was like, okay, I'm working on an album and I'm working on music.
It doesn't really mean a lot.
But it doesn't mean a lot until I had a song called Be the One that came out, and then I was starting to book some festivals, and I was like, okay, I'm on stage, I'm doing what I love, and those rooms were getting bigger. I was going on a tour. I then supported Troye Sivan in America. Things were kind of changing and shifting. My first ever Glastonbury that I performed in, that was very early doors. It was the second Glasto, that was just before my first album came out. That's when I felt like things were really shifting, because I remember peering out from like the curtain. The show was in a tent, and not very many people were out there. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go out and have fun. And this is Glastonbury. It's my favorite festival. I'm just going to go and enjoy it. And it was being televised onto the BBC, that performance. And just as I had like gone up on stage, the whole tent was packed. It was like sardines. And I remember turning to my band and being like, oh my God, like there's so many people here. And that's when everything shifted.